Well, greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to the best damn movie-related show on the planet Earth, the John Campea Show podcast, coming from right here in our quaint little studio. I'm, of course, your host, John Campea. I'm joined in studios today by Jonathan Voico.
4 more wins, baby.
And most importantly, you guys are here. Thank you so much for being here, making our little show part of your day. And here's how today's show is going to go. We're going to start off by talking about a few predetermined topics. Then in the second part of the show, we're going to take your live comments and questions. If you have a thought, theory, opinion, or question that you'd like us to address on the show, and as long as we deem it appropriate and worth answering on the show, we'll address it in the second part of the show. And you can send in a question to our tip link at www.streamelements.com/JohnCampea/tip. And here's the good news about the tip link. If you happen to be listening to our podcast on a podcasting app like Spotify, Apple Podcasts, stuff like that, you can also send in a question, or if you're watching this video a little bit later in the day when we're not actually live, you can also use this tip link because it's good 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Just send in your question there and we'll just get around to answering it on the next episode. All right, guys, with that all down, let's get things started on this Monday with this. You know, we've talked a lot about, over the last couple of months about the insane success of Deadpool and Wolverine. Can you believe that there were so many people that, 7 months ago, whatever, we were talking about, and we said this is going to be $1 billion film. How many people kept telling us that we were insane and that would never hit $1 billion?
Yeah. Yet they told us like other films were going to be $1 billion, and we're like, not even close.
Yeah. No, not even close. But I mean, I get it though. Like when Deadpool, like the first two Deadpool films, neither of them got to $800 million. I mean, they both made a crap ton of money.
Sure.
But people would look at them and say, not quite $1 million. And then the made up comic book movie fatigue, which does not exist, obviously. But, it's not going to do it. And my argument was always, listen, Ryan Reynolds is more popular today than he was when they made those. Hugh Jackman's coming out of retirement. People were wanting to see Deadpool in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And I said, the other movies both made almost $800 million. You don't think all those things together will equal like just an additional 200 million?
Right.
But at any rate, of course, the movie came out, did extremely well, became the highest grossing R-rated film of all time, which again, think about that. The long history of Hollywood, and it became the highest grossing by a lot, grossing R-rated film of all time. Well, now, over 3 months in theaters, it's still in the top 15 at the box office. Right now, it is still in the top 15 at the box office.
Which is insane. It's like, who's going to see this in the theaters right now? It's already like, you can purchase it at home. It's crazy.
I'm going to let you know a secret. Anne just bought more tickets for us to go. She literally just bought, she's like, I want to see it in theater.
One more time, right?
One more time.
Yeah.
Always one more time. So still in the top 15, but here's the big thing. It just crossed Barbie. It just passed Barbie, says the Hollywood Reporter, to become the 12th. Now think about it, this is an R-rated film. To become the 12th highest domestic film, like in the U.S. market, U.S.-Canada market, of all time. It didn't cross Barbie worldwide, but it entered the top 20 all-time worldwide, but got the top 12 ever, passing Barbie. We take a look at this chart. This is the all-time box office chart for the domestic box office. Still up there at number 1 is Star Wars Episode 7, The Force Awakens. At number 2, Avengers Endgame. I mean, look at, first, this is a very Disney-heavy list.
Oh, yeah.
Star Wars Episode 7, Avengers Endgame, Spider-Man No Way Home, Avatar. Then you got Top Gun Maverick in there, which did so well in the North American box office. Black Panther, Avatar The Way of Water, Avengers Infinity War, Titanic, Jurassic World, Inside. There's only 2 films on this list that aren't Disney films currently. Jurassic World and Top Gun Maverick. Anyway, then at 11, Inside Out 2, which is another of the year's huge success stories.
2 in this year, which is crazy.
Number 1 box office film of the year is Inside Out 2. But in there now at number 12, passing Barbie, which made over $1.5 billion.
Yeah.
Deadpool and Wolverine comes into the top 12, now making $636 million at the North American box office alone. It's well over $3.3 billion worldwide, and is still in the top 15. That's, I think it's in its 13th or 14th week.
Yeah, it's crazy.
And it's still
It reminds me of
in the
Home
top
Alone.
13.
This goes back, but it reminds me of Home Alone, and the track that Home Alone had. It was just for weeks. It was just people were just still going. It was crazy.
We might have said this before, but here's a little trivia for you. You might know this. I might have brought it up already. What movie holds the all-time record for most weeks in the top 10 at the box office without ever holding the number one spot?
You did tell us this, but I can't remember the answer.
It's one that's going to surprise you.
Yeah, so it just kind of hung in there, right?
Yep, and like it was like at number 2 and number 3, and then back up to number 2, then down to number 4. Then it's just a movie that hung in there and hung in there and hung in there.
A lot like Despicable Me 4 this year.
Joseph SFL in the live chat.
Oh, that makes so much sense.
Just got it.
My Big Fat Greek Wedding.
My Big Fat Greek Wedding.
Yeah.
But the sequel sucked. But that was a magnificent film.
With that film, you had people going back 3-4 times, sometimes 5.
Yeah,
that's why.
And people caught on word of mouth later and later and later. There were people still going to see it in week 7, week 8, week 9, all that kind of stuff. But anyway, Deadpool and Wolverine pulls that off too. And you know, it's funny because Ann and I were just talking. We were just at a Halloween party the other night. And we were with a few other couples and talking about it, and like, one of the couples has still never seen Deadpool and Wolverine. They really want to.
Oh, wow.
And one of the other couples was like, man, we got to watch it again. So we just planned like a big Deadpool and Wolverine watch party at our place. But it's just, it makes us ask again, what is the magic sauce? Because look, there have been better films than Deadpool and Wolverine. Like, I think Deadpool and Wolverine is fantastic, but there have been better films.
Yeah.
What is it about this film? Like, whenever it climbs to some new incredible milestone, like crossing Barbie, entering the top dozen of the all-time domestic box office, entering the top 20 of the all-time global, being an R-rated film, what is it? And I still just go back to the same things. Insane humor. Because, you know, I was 5 or 6 times into watching this movie.
Right.
Before I finally got to the point of, okay, I'm not picking up new things anymore.
Sure.
Like my second time, I picked up at least 7 or 8 jokes that I never caught the first time because they're so quick.
Yeah.
And like the audience laughs so hard at one joke that you miss the second joke. Then the third time I picked up new things, the fourth time I picked up new things. It wasn't until like the 5th or 6th time that I was like, okay, I've actually seen the movie now.
Right.
And I've picked up on almost everything. So there's this incredible humor. I think there's like legitimate emotion to it. The characters are so likable. And I mean, that's why I think Disney is going to move heaven and earth to make sure that Ryan Reynolds, who, look, to even make Deadpool 3, I'm sure they made Ryan Reynolds agree to appear at least in a few other films because they didn't want to put all that investment into something that was going to be a one and done movie.
Yeah.
I still don't think Hugh Jackman's returning. I still think Hugh Jackman's done.
I feel like he's done. I really wonder if Disney gave Ryan Reynolds some production space, like a production office space on the Disney lot.
Oh, I'm sure he got a lot. I'm sure he got almost whatever he asked for. I just, every time I hear Hugh Jackman, though, talk about how miserable his life is whenever he's trying to be in Wolverine shape, and the older you get, the harder that gets.
I don't know how he maintains that.
Well, he doesn't maintain it. That's
no,
the
I
thing.
mean, like, yeah. But how
Like when
when
he's got a new Wolverine movie coming out, he goes into like a 6 or 7 month psycho thing that he hates.
It's
He
actually
hates it.
It's fit as you are. That actually can be hard on your body. It can be hard on your heart, especially as you're getting older.
Yeah.
So there's concerns there too.
He is single now, so maybe he's got more incentive to look that way. Anyway, absolutely.
He could be half as bad and still not worry about it.
Well, that's true. Yeah, I mean, he could cut his looks in half
and still
like will look like schlub standing next to him, of course. So I mean, but whatever. Guys, question is for you. What do you think about this? 3 months in, this movie's still in the top 15. It continues to climb the chart, now in the top 20 all-time globally, passes Barbie to get in the top 12 domestically. What do you see as the keys to the longevity of this film? Why do people keep going back again and again and again and again? I mean, there's not a lot of people who I would think would say this is their favorite movie of the last 5 years. but they've gone back to see it more times than they've seen other films in the last 5 years. What is it about this film that does that? Whatever you guys think, jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. With that down, let's go on and talk about this, shall we? You know, there was a lot of talk going on when Warner Brothers announced that they were going to be doing a Harry Potter television series, essentially rebooting the movies. Like they're going to be doing it's not a continuation, it's not a sequel, it's not a prequel, it's the actual Harry Potter books. But this time around, each book, instead of being a movie, each book will be an entire series of TV. Now, a lot of people, myself admittedly included, scratched our heads a little bit about that and thought, wouldn't it just make more sense to back up dump trucks full of gold to the houses of Daniel Radcliffe and Emma Watson and Rupert Grint and just get the gang back together again and do a proper Harry Potter sequel? None of this cursed child nonsense, but like a legitimate Harry Potter sequel picking up with the gang 20 years later, right? Wouldn't that make more sense? And do you really want to redo it? But the narrative surrounding this potential TV series has kind of changed ever since they announced who the producers and showrunners were going to be. People with connections to shows like Succession, Last of Us, things like that, like top-notch creative people who've made some of the best television that we've seen in years. And then all of a sudden, a bunch of us, including me, started going, oh, wait a minute. You're getting like top-line people behind this. Top men. Bonus points to anybody who knows that reference. They're getting really like top-shelf people. Like maybe there's something to this. And then the conversation started to go around to, like, even my wife Ann, who is a major Potterhead. She's like, you know, now that I think about it, because she didn't like the idea at first either. She's like, now that I think about it, there is a lot of stuff in the books they left out, and maybe they could do more. Well, now the head of Warner Brothers Television has just come out and basically confirmed that, yes, they're saying the Harry Potter series is going to be a lot more in-depth than what the films were. Now, there's a big conference going on, and he was there. And one of the things was this, but there's one project no one can stop talking about, which Variety co-editor-in-chief Cynthia Littleton acknowledged on Monday, saying, I don't think I'm legally allowed to let you, the Warner Brothers executive, off the stage without asking about this, she said. What can you tell us about the Harry Potter project? Dungy replied, there's not a lot to talk about at this moment. We've got our fantastic writing staff in place and they are doing what they need to do. And casting calls have been opened up in the UK and Ireland. So the process of moving along is going quite well. When probed further on the excitement of having an IP like J.K. Rowling's Harry Potter books to play with, Dungy said, it's an unbelievable dream, honestly. And as somebody who is a huge fan of the books, the opportunity to get to explore them in maybe a little bit more depth than you can have in just a 2-hour film. That's the whole reason we're on this journey. All right. So where is somebody like me who's a fan of the movies? I'm a fan of the movie. I like the movies. A couple of them I like a lot. One or two of them I didn't like so much. But overall, I like the Harry Potter franchise. Somebody like me who was pretty damn skeptical at first, then kind of warmed up to the idea when I saw the top people on the show getting attached. Where am I at right now? I'll say this. I am cautiously optimistic. I find myself being cautiously optimistic. You know what doesn't hurt? I just watched a new episode of Penguin. We'll talk more about this. I just watched a new episode of Penguin, which happens to be made also by HBO and Max and Warner Brothers.
I'm waiting for that scene where Harry and Hermione take off and Harry's like, we're in it now, Hermione. We're in it now.
I'm just waiting for that to happen. But I mean, look, I've never read the books. All right. Just to be honest with you. But our good friend, Cody Miller, Olympic gold medalist, who you guys have seen, if you follow me for a long time, you've seen him on our show. He used to do best movie, worst movie with us, with me and Rob. But he is a fanatical Potterhead. Like him and Allie, his wife, they literally had a Harry Potter themed wedding. Like his house is adorned with Harry Potter stuff. He's the guy who flew from Indiana all the way to Los Angeles just to go to a Fantastic Beasts screening with me and then flew back to Indianapolis. Like he's a hardcore guy. And I was talking to him a couple weeks ago about it. He said, here's the reality. There is people don't talk about this much, but there is a ton of stuff in the books, he said, that they couldn't possibly touch in the movies. There's just not enough time to touch in the movies. He said there's a ton of stuff, and there are entire thematic trails they can do that they never even brought up in the movies that they can do here.
Especially surrounding Dumbledore, because you're going to have a lot more explanation about the relationship of his sister, his brother, the events that took place there, the prophecy surrounding Harry. It's just so much. Yeah.
Yeah. So he said, look, so the potential is there. He said, so yeah, functionally, there's a purpose to do this as a show because it's the same Harry Potter story, but there's going to be a lot of stuff that wasn't in the movies. And the reality is, and this is where we all feel old. When did the first Harry Potter movie come out?
It was like 2001 or 2. I'm going to look it up.
We're getting close to 25 years.
2001. So
yeah, we're at 23, going on 24. We're getting close to a quarter of a century since that first Harry Potter movie came out.
Mm-hmm.
I would suggest that maybe it's time for a retelling. And look, just to everybody out there who are hardcore Potterheads and hold the original movies so close and so dear to your hearts, I'm just going to say this. Like I say about every remake, revival, all that kind of stuff. If this show is really good, and what out of HBO and Max would make us feel like it wouldn't be good?
Right.
I mean, what? Last of Us wasn't good? Sopranos wasn't good? Succession wasn't good? Penguin isn't amazing? Like, I'm just saying, what coming out of HBO and Max would make us feel like this won't be good? I'm just saying, if it's good, then great. We have another thing on the side that we can enjoy and love.
Yeah.
And if it's terrible, what was bad coming out of HBO and Max? What was that one with Johnny Depp's daughter?
Oh, yeah, the
Idol?
Idol.
Yeah, okay. Like so, yeah, there was Idol. There's one thing.
How to Make It in America wasn't great either. Nobody even remembers what that is.
Yeah, I don't remember it either. But like 9 times out of 10, then it ends up being epic.
Yeah.
But if it's terrible, like Idol, okay, who cares? If they do a new show and it's terrible, who cares? The original movies are still there. And you can still love them, and you can still adore them, and you can still go to Wizarding World at Universal. By the way, I do love Wizarding World at Universal. It's amazing.
Yeah, it's not subtractive. You know what I mean? Like, you're not losing.
Yes, it doesn't take anything away.
That's always my thing. It's like, how does this ruin or do? That's just an emotional thing. Like, no, it ruins it. It's like, okay, but it doesn't really.
Marcus Y in the live chat said, "Tell that to Star Wars fans. I am the ultimate Star Wars fan.
Yeah, I still love Star Wars.
There are several things that I hate that they've done in recent years. Ask me if it's changed one thing about the original trilogy.
Has it changed one thing?
Not a thing.
I nailed that question.
I can watch The Acolyte and seethe in hatred for it. And guess what? It doesn't do if you're a rational, sane human being, it doesn't do one little thing to diminish your love of the original trilogy.
Yeah.
At all. At all. It still is, if anything, when something like The Rise of Skywalker or The Acolyte or Ahsoka or Obi-Wan comes out and are terrible, it just makes me even appreciate the good ones even more.
Yeah.
So yeah, if you're a rational, sane human being, if something new comes out and is bad, it doesn't change the previous thing, the thing that you love. So I think this is definitely worth going up to bat and taking a swing at, especially if you're going to attach these type of people. So we'll see. Anyway, guys, question is for you. What do you think about this? A WB executive just come out and said, yeah, this TV series is going to go more in depth into the books than the movies ever could. Makes sense. I think you're going to have like 8 hours of a season instead of a 2.5 hour movie. Are you looking forward to that? Are you somebody who read the books? Can you already think of some things that they can get into that the books never touched? Whatever you guys think, jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. That down, let's move on to this, shall we? Don't know if some of you know this. I'm a bit of a sports fan. We even have for those of you who don't know, we have another show. We have another YouTube channel called Filthy Sports, where all we do is talk about sports. Next episode comes up a little bit later. There it is right there. You can find it right now on Spotify if you'd like to, or go find our YouTube channel on Filthy Sports. But I enjoy the sports. And part of the things that I like about sports, even though I'm not a sports bettor myself, I love following sports lines and sports books, who's the favorite, whatnot. Well, every once in a while, the stars align, and I get a crossing of my two favorite worlds, of sports and movies, because sports books right now are laying odds on who's going to be the next James Bond. And for a while there, Ricky Tiki Taki,
We've gone so far into
Taylor Johnson.
Yeah, we've gone so far into the hole we don't know the real name anymore.
Ricky, I don't know why. I always whenever it comes to Aaron Taylor, I just call him Ricky Tiki Taki. Anyway, Aaron Taylor Johnson had been the favorite. But according to the sports books now, new research shows that the favorite to be the new James Bond is my boy. Standing there, you only see his hand.
He's watching over us.
Keeping vigil over the studio, standing right there. My boy, Henry Cavill, according to the new report, is the new odds-on betting favorite to become the new James Bond. It says new research reveals that based on analysis of Google searches, articles, article engagement, and Reddit mentions for 31 potential actors reportedly being considered or discussed for the role, Henry Cavill takes the number one spot from Aaron Taylor Johnson. The report also says that MCU actor and Luther star Idris Elba takes the third spot, Aaron Taylor Johnson in second, Venom star Tom Hardy in fourth, and Peaky Blinders Cillian Murphy in fifth. That's your new rankings. They say the smart money, the bookies, will tell you that your odds-on money-making favorite to be the next James Bond is Henry Cavill, who, by the way, is 41 years old now. He's 41. Aaron Taylor Johnson, Idris Elba, Tom Hardy, Cillian Murphy. I think Tom Hiddleston is still in the mix there somewhere. Some people still talk about Taron Egerton. I just think he's too physically short to play James Bond. I love him. He's great. You put him in almost anything, but I don't think he can play James Bond, but whatever. Remember there was even Spider-Man, Tom Holland.
Oh, yeah.
Tom Holland said he wanted to play James Bond, but apparently that got shot down. That's not going anywhere. But listen, we've talked for a long time. You know, Daniel Craig is my all-time favorite Bond. That's not a popular opinion, but to me, he was like the perfect marriage. There will always be two archetypes of James Bond. Sean Connery, Roger Moore, right? The badass Sean Connery, the suave, shaken, not stirred. You know, the License to Kill, Sean Connery, the shaken, not stirred Roger Moore.
Right.
And I think the reason why I love Daniel Craig as Bond so much, like right from the first movie that he did, I think it was because to me, every other James Bond actor was either a Roger Moore type or a Sean Connery type. Daniel Craig to me was like the first true guy they did who was like a perfect blend of the two. He had the suaveness of Moore. He had the badassness of Sean Connery. And I always loved that about him. So ever since, you know, it became known that he was now going to be done, and Pierce Brosnan was a great one. Pierce Brosnan was, to me, more of a Roger Moore Bond.
That's interesting you say that, because I feel like Pierce Brosnan actually had a bit of the merging of the two. And I always felt...
I'd say there was a bit. Yeah,
I always felt like Daniel Craig echoed Timothy Dalton a little more with that aggression.
Oh, you saw him more as a Timothy Dalton. That's interesting.
And a lot of people gave Dalton a lot of crap, but when you go back, it actually aged well.
I agree. I still don't think Dalton is the best Bond.
Sure.
But Dalton was a good Bond. I liked his iteration. Of course, then don't forget about George Lazenby and all that kind of stuff. But ever since we've been talking about James Bond, I have always been, and it's not just because he's my boy, I've always been very pro Henry Cavill being the new James Bond. I think he's, number one, he's a tremendous actor. I've really loved him as an actor since he was in The Tudors. Like, that's where I really first took notice of Henry Cavill. He was great in that. And then I just love his screen presence. And then when he did The Man from U.N.C.L.E., that was like, now that seals it for me. By the way, if you haven't seen Man from U.N.C.L.E.,
so fun.
With him and the Purple People Eater, Army Hammer.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's tough to say Army Hammer, but still, like, him and Army Hammer were great in that movie. And that's the one that like totally sold me on Henry Cavill could be James Bond. Now, my one knock on Henry Cavill is that he might be too old. John, how is being 41 too old to play James Bond? 41 is not too old to play James Bond. What it might be is a little too old to play James Bond for the next 15 years.
Right.
And I think the Broccoli's have even kind of specifically said they're looking for somebody in their early 30s. Now, that doesn't mean they can't change their mind. But I have a feeling when you look at that top 5 list, Jonathan, so number 1, Cavill, number 2, Aaron Taylor Johnson, who I do think would be a wonderful James Bond as well. Aaron Taylor Johnson would be a great James Bond. Idris Elba would also be great, but I think he's even older than Henry Cavill. Can you look at how old is Idris Elba?
Okay, yeah, I think he is older, but I'm gonna look it up.
Tom Hardy, Cillian Murphy, I think all the age thing. I actually think when it's all said and done, it's not going to be any of them.
52.
So Idris is now 52.
Yeah.
Right. So I mean, he's not going to be, he couldn't play Bond for the next 15 years.
And you need this franchise to go 12 to 15 years. So
yeah, I mean, ideally, that's what Bond has been. They don't want the one shot George Lazenby, the 2-shot Timothy Dalton. They want people to play it like Moore did, like Daniel Craig did. They want this to be, they want Bond to be a generational guy.
Sure.
Right. And I think so. I think at the end of the day, it probably won't be any of them. If it is going to be any of them, I still think the one that it could be is Aaron Taylor Johnson. But I think it'll probably end up being somebody who's not even on this list. We'll find out. Anyway, guys, question is for you. What do you think about this? The sports books are now saying that Henry Cavill is the favorite. That's where the money is. If you wanted to bet on it, to play it. I love the idea of Henry Cavill being James Bond. I don't think they'll do it, but I would love it if they were. What do you think about that? Do you think he has a shot? What do you think about the other names on the list? Do you have somebody else in mind? Whatever you guys think, jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys, listen. We still got to talk about frickin' last night's episode of The Penguin, which I think might be I know I say it every week, I think it might be the best episode yet. We're going to talk about that. And also, that movie I've been pretty convinced won't be any good, Gladiator 2, had its first screening. And there are a number of people that I know that were at it. Some of them are saying it's one of their favorite films of the year, that it's epic. It may not be as good as the original, but that's a worthy successor. A lot of praise coming out. We're going to talk about that and a few things more. But before we do, we're going to take a quick second to thank one of the sponsors of today's episode of the John Campea Show podcast, our friends at the Dollar Shave Club. Guys, we want to take a second to thank a sponsor of today's video, Dollar Shave Club. Hello there, my fellow handsome gentlemen. Nice face you shaved there. Whether you're going smooth shaven or maintaining a beard, Dollar Shave Club offers shave and grooming products that are always high quality, but never overpriced. If you like to wet shave for that clean, close shave, they've got the Club Series 6 Blade Razor. A shave so comfy your skin will take a nap. 6 stainless steel blades for our closest and most comfortable shave, with a vitamin E infused lubricant strip for comfort and glide and precision trimmer for precise detailing. Their amazing Shave Butter Clear View Smooth Glide, designed for precision. Shave Butter is a translucent shaving cream alternative that allows you to see exactly where you're shaving. Bonus, it has long-lasting lubrication that helps soften whiskers for maximum glide and leaves your skin feeling hydrated. But don't take our word for it. Try it for yourself. You can visit their site right now for 20% off $20 or more and get your products delivered right to your door. Visit dollarshaveclub.com/Campea and use promo code Campea for 20% off $20 or more. And remember, however you shave, Dollar Shave Club is here to help you stay handsome. And thank you to our friends at the Dollar Shave Club for sponsoring today's episode of the John Campea Show podcast. All right, guys, that down. Let's move on to this, shall we? Frickin' Penguin. That damn show. New episode was last night. I almost forgot to watch it because I was watching a whole bunch of football all day, and then Ann and I watched as the Dodgers punched their ticket to the World Series. And then I was like, I was getting ready for bed. Like it was only like 9 o'clock, so I wasn't about to go to bed. But
Right.
I'm doing a few things that I would do before bedtime, and then Ann yells from the other room, "Wait a minute, isn't there something we watch on Sundays?" I'm like, "New episode of The Penguins tonight." I totally forgot. So sat down, watched a new episode of The Penguin. Now, listen, I'm going to just let you know right now, we are going to talk about last night's episode in a little bit of spoilery detail. So we'll pop up our little spoiler warning here. There it is. Now, if you guys don't want to know anything about what happened on last night's episode of The Penguin, you can mute your machine, whether you're watching on the phone, TV, computer, whatever. And then when this spoiler alarm comes down, then you can unmute, okay? Are we all good? You've been given fair warning? All right. Oh my God. Oh my God. This show, it just never stops impressing me. I said this the other week. This show is so good, I don't even think about it as a comic book show anymore. I mean, it is clearly a comic book show. By the way, having the police chief show up from the Batman was a nice little touch. This is just a great show. I mean, his name could be Billy. Billy Buffbatter. That's his name. Is a member of the criminal underworld.
Billy Buffbatter.
His nickname is the Pelican. And he'd be totally unrelated to Batman. And this would still be one of my favorite shows on TV. I think it is the best show on TV. The best show that's currently airing.
Mm-hmm.
Like Shogun's done. It's the best show currently airing, I think. Regardless of its connections to Batman and all that kind of stuff. This show is just incredible. And it just gets better and better. And just when you think that Sophia Falcone, now known as Sophia...
Gigante.
What's that?
Gigante.
Couldn't get any more ruthless. I mean, she gassed her whole family. Granted, they all screwed her over. And then when she came back from being screwed over, they acted like she was the inconvenient one. She's like, all right, I'm just going to kill you all. Again, it reminds me a lot of Shawshank Redemption. You know, I was an honest man when I went to jail. It took jail to turn me into a criminal. She came out as a stone cold killer. I'll tell you what, man, though, that Johnny Vitti scene,
Mm-hmm.
where she literally, the whole reason she had him at the meeting was so she could shoot him in the head in front of everybody.
He had a mouth off.
That's an interesting sales pitch. I want you guys to join my new family. Oh, and I'm going to kill this guy, you know. Boom.
It was a stupid move. I mean, the guy's like, he weaseled his way.
Power move, man.
He weaseled his way into like surviving. He thought he did. I knew she wasn't buying it. And it's like, you're here on her good graces, and you're going to be like, listen, little lady, sit down. We don't want to be...
yeah, you and I were talking about this before the show. Like, clearly, I think she had it in her head that she was going to kill the only made guy
right
in the Falcone family, the last remnant of the Falcone family. I think she had that in her head, but I wonder... if he had just like got totally behind her,
right?
If she might have let him live, we'll never know.
If he had become a useful idiot, but he blew it.
Yeah, I mean, and listen, he clearly knew what he was doing. All that kind of stuff. Like if he got in there and said, "This is a new way of things, guys. This is now, this is Sophia's family. Let's get on board." Maybe she would have maybe let him live, but lest you think for a moment that her shooting him in the head in front of all those guys and then dumping a bag full of money in his still running head wound blood was like the oh my God moment of the episode. Oh no, it wasn't. No, it wasn't. Because this show constantly goes out of its way to remind everybody, lest you think Penguin is the hero of the show, they're constantly reminding us he is an evil dirtbag who is, like every evil dirtbag, thinks he's the hero of his story. And I love that this show tells it from that perspective. From his perspective, he's just trying to get ahead. He's justified. In his mind, he's justified in what he's doing. He's smart in what he's doing. All this kind of stuff. So this show does this great juxtaposition of telling the story from his perspective, but also letting us stand outside of his perspective to recognize this is the Penguin. This is an evil person.
He's the hero of his mother's story.
Oh my God. When he lit the Maronis on fire.
That was lit. That's hot.
Oh my. Were you sitting on that or did that just come to you?
You know, I always got a little Paris Hilton in me.
That was lit. When he, like, I kind of thought maybe he was going to take them out, right? But when he pulled out the lighter.
Yeah.
And that the flames started going towards them. And then I thought the camera would just cut to Oz and you'd see the orange glow of the flame and maybe hearing them scream.
There's
but when
charred
they
flesh.
put it right on them and saw them burning to death.
Oh.
But then here's the money shot.
Look like Luke's parents or Uncle and Aunt.
Luke's uncle Owen and Aunt Beru. Yeah. When the camera then goes, this is the money shot though. It wasn't them burning to death.
Right.
It was the camera going back to Oz's face. And him getting pleasure out of it.
We saw,
And like, lest you ever fall into the trap of thinking Penguin is the hero of this story, that they're making Penguin a, what do they call them? An anti-hero, or making him just to be a misunderstood guy.
Right.
Lest you ever fall into that trap of thinking that. This show constantly reminds us, no, he's not an anti-hero. He's not just misunderstood. Sure, he has good qualities. And I love that it does. It looks at the duality of humanity, right? He loves his mother. He does want to show loyalty to the people that show loyalty to him. Like, yeah, there's some good traits, but at the end of the day, once you cross that bridge, he is an evil, evil man. And when and then the shanking of Maroni in jail. And then Sophia showing up at his house. It's like, yeah, my family screwed you over, just like they screwed me over. So let's create a new alliance. The Maronis and the formerly known as the Falcones.
Yeah, now Gigantes.
With one common mission. Kill Penguin. You know, I thought for a while, Jonathan, that this series was going to end with there being 3 distinct crime families in Gotham's, the Falcones, the Maronis, and a Penguin syndicate. I'm thinking this series is not going to end. I now don't think Sophia makes it out of this show. I think that's where Sophia is going to end up. In the family mortuary.
There is an open spot right there where she's laying.
They got a blank spot for her.
Yeah.
I think I now think Maroni doesn't make it out. I think this series ends with a very triumphant, dirty, underhanded, conniving, whatever.
Right.
Penguin. I think this series now ends with Penguin claiming the city.
Yeah.
That Gotham belongs to the Penguin by the end of this. And then maybe some kind of hint that it's now catching the attention of this relatively new vigilante in town known as the Batman.
Yeah.
But
You,
I'm telling you, man, that episode, my jaw was in my lap several times. Several times. And then they had that great shot too, where you start to see the evolution of Vic, because Vic pulls down the Maroney son and starts.
I'm like, who is
whoa.
this dude? Like, now he can just throw down. Before he was stealing hubcaps, but now this dude is like,
Well, remember, he did get a guy from behind,
Yeah.
who was trying to run away, and then got to throw him to the ground off of a fence, so he was able to get in a shot.
yeah.
But I mean, so you start to see that. You see now Vic is totally all in with Penguin. It's like, I got you, I got this, I'll take care of it. Like, he's now all in with Penguin, and I think we're going to see how that is going to affect him.
Yeah. You just one thing that kind of stuck out to me is you mentioned that look that it panned back to Penguin when he's
burning them
He
alive.
was watching them burn alive. I think we've only seen that look one other time, and I said, "This is the real Penguin. This is the real person behind that veneer." It was in episode 1 after he shot the Falcone's son.
Yeah.
and he got that look, and he got that same look again.
You know what's so great about that? In that first episode, he got, ha, ha, ha. Oh shit, what did
Yeah.
I just do? Like, yeah, that was brilliant. But you know what the worst part about this show is?
It ends.
There's only 3 episodes left. I find that just brings such sorrow to my heart
Yeah.
when I think about there's only 3 episodes left. But anyway, guys, question is for you. What did you think of the new episode of Penguin? I loved it. And it sets up such a wild final 3 episodes. Whatever you guys thought about it, jump down into the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. Take down the spoiler thing now. And by the way, the Batman seems to like what we were talking about, because the Batman is sent in like
$30.
totally celebrating the success of the Penguin. Thank you for that, Batman. All right, guys. With that down, let's move on to this, shall we? Gladiator 2 is coming. I can't remember the release date. It's November, I think.
Oh, yeah, I'll look it up.
Can you pull that up for me? But Gladiator 2 is coming. Yes, November 22nd.
All right.
And listen, I'm going to be honest with you. You guys have been watching the show, I am skeptical about the movie. I thought they showed us a big preview for it at CinemaCon. Didn't do it for me. It just didn't.
Yeah.
The first trailer came out, I thought was bad. Maybe not bad, but it wasn't great. I admit the second trailer was actually quite good. The second trailer was a really good trailer. I give it that. But I've always said, here's my big worry about it. I think the idea of a sequel to Gladiator picking up with the little kid from the first one, Lucius, now many years later, and where that all goes and all that kind of stuff, that could be interesting. But the biggest problem, and I know it sounds weird to say, but is Ridley Scott. Ridley Scott, who is easily a first ballot Hollywood Hall of Famer, an iconic, legendary director who's made some of our favorite cinema ever. But let's be honest. Other than The Martian, which was fantastic. The Martian was great. But The Martian is now not a recent movie. The Martian in and of itself is like, isn't it over a decade old now?
It's getting up
Anyway,
there.
other than The Martian, Ridley Scott hasn't made a good movie in like 15 years.
Yeah, 2015.
It's getting close to 10 years old. He hasn't made a good movie in like 15 years. I mean, don't even get me started on The Counselor.
Yeah.
Which is like one of the worst movies. Like, I'd say it like a top 20, top 30 worst film, Hollywood wide release film I've ever seen. Not top 5 or top 10, but top 20, top 30 maybe. And what's he done lately? Napoleon?
Which, ironically, you guys were hyped about it.
I was so excited for Napoleon. You know what else I was really excited about? House of Gucci. You know what else I was pretty excited about? Last Duel.
Oh, right.
You know what else I was pretty excited about? Robin Hood. You know what else I was pretty excited about? No, the guy just hasn't made a great movie in like 15 years, other than The Martian.
Right.
And so, even though it sounds weird, my biggest apprehension, the biggest reason I have not had a lot of faith in Gladiator 2, it's got a terrific cast, awesome cast. but has been Ridley Scott. I'm going to admit it. That Ridley Scott is now something that makes me worried about a film. So it was with great interest when I got an invitation to go see a Gladiator 2 screening at the Paramount lot. I ended up not going because I don't accept any invitations to anything anymore. But, and I knew a few people going to that screening who were also very skeptical about Gladiator 2. I won't say their names because I don't want to throw them under the bus. But I know several people who went to that screening who have been extremely skeptical about Gladiator 2. Well, here's the thing. The first reactions are now in for Gladiator 2, and they are spectacular. Even from some people that I know who have very much had no belief in this film. I got a text the other night from a girl I know who went to go see it, had zero faith, didn't even want to go.
Mm-hmm. I know that feeling.
And it was just like, hot damn, this movie's fire. Like, really? Then I thought maybe it just caught her on a good day or something like that. But then I started reading all the other reactions. And they're all saying that this movie is great. I'm having a hard time believing it. But they're all saying this movie is great. Let's go over some of the publicly made statements about this. Showbiz Simon wrote, Gladiator 2 serves up the richest feast in the epic action set pieces and deliciously ribald? I'll be honest with you, I'm not even sure what that word means. Treachery. Dovetailing stylishly with the original. Paul Mescal leads a solid stellar cast with Apom, Denzel Washington, Joseph Quinn, and Fred Hershinger are collective powerhouses. Scott Menzel wrote, Gladiator 2 is Ridley Scott's best film since The Martian. That's not hard, but still, it's good to hear. A big, bloody, and badass action spectacle that builds upon the legacy of the original. The film showcases beautiful set pieces and a lot of epic battles. Paul Mescal shines, Denzel Washington chews up the scenery. Eric Anderson wrote from Awards Watch, Gladiator 2 is a true epic and Ridley Scott's best in years. Paul Mescal is a great, again, not hard to do, but still, Paul Mescal is a great action star without sacrificing his indie grit, a worthy heir to the throne. Denzel Washington eats every line and costume without ever overplaying. Griffin Schiller writes, Ridley Scott returns to the Coliseum to prove to the world that he's still got it. Absolutely buzzing after Gladiator 2, an epic Shakespearean tale of hope, futility, and power within a crumbling system. Denzel feasts in a show-stopping Machiavellian performance. What a picture. I've even heard some people saying Denzel could get an Oscar nomination for this.
Good.
Our friend Germaine Lucier writes, Gladiator 2 doesn't quite rise to the greatness of the original, but it's a damn fine sequel with big stakes, a solid story, and excellent performances. I enjoyed it thoroughly. Most probably will too. But it's just slightly lacking emotionally. Everything is easy and surface. That's the biggest criticism I've heard about so far. Cinemovie TV writes, dang, Gladiator 2 is pretty awesome. Paul Mescal, Denzel Washington, Pedro Pascal, Joseph Quinn, and Fred Hechinger shine. It's a worthy follow-up, and Ridley Scott captures the spirit of the original, but sequel is its own thing. Matthew Koss writes, Gladiator 2 is what happens when Ridley Scott lets loose and finds heart in the action. A total spectacle with a pulsating pace. Can't wait to see Gladiator again. Will Matvey writes, Gladiator 2 lacks the focus and emotional punch of the original, and Mescal isn't quite as captivating a lead here as Crowe was. Well, who would be? But it's overflowing with memorable action, and it's got Denzel stealing the movie in soon to be one of his most iconic performances. All right. The Adam Review writes, Gladiator 2, epic masterpiece, emotional with huge, stunning action. Ridley Scott's perfect crescendo. Paul and Pedro deliver the goods, a sweeping, arousing saga that fits your arse, or that fists your arse.
That actually is even worse.
Put that on the poster. I want to know why that isn't on this thing. Fists your arse. Not just another sequel. it's the
Maybe
best.
I'll just stream it.
He says he goes a little too far when he says it's the best movie ever. I doubt that.
Yeah.
Still, hey, that's how he feels. That's how he feels. A
That's
fitting
fine.
ending, setting to set up what's next. Also, this is why films are made. Wow. Kenzie wrote,
Wah, wah, wee, wah.
Epic doesn't begin to describe Gladiator 2. This is the grandest of filmmaking by Ridley Scott. The theatrics, the blood, and incredible performances make this one of the best films of the year. So fucking incredible. Anyway, it just goes on. Like, from some people I know that were pretty excited about Gladiator 2, but also from people that I personally know had no faith in this film. And they're like texting me and saying, hot damn, this movie's, you're going to like it, Campea. Which I have not had a lot of belief that I would.
Mm-hmm.
And listen, just to be clear, just because all these people like it doesn't necessarily mean I will. But I gotta tell you, it's pretty encouraging. Because, somebody brought up the other day, Jonathan, when we were doing the show, somebody wrote, listen, Denzel Washington is one of the GOATs. He can do whatever he wants. And he chose to be in this. Like, he believed in this.
Right.
Does that say something? And I said, look, as somebody who's not totally buying into Gladiator 2, I admit that Denzel choosing to be in it when he can do anything he wants, that does speak well for the film. I still don't think it's going to be all that great, but, who knows? We'll see. This, look, man, whether it ends up being great or not, man, you got to say, this all sounds very promising.
It's tracking well.
It's tracking great. The responses have been good. I mean, what's it opening on the same day as? I think it's Wicked.
Yeah, I think it competes with Wicked.
I mean, maybe we could be getting, as long as Cynthia Erivo doesn't totally kill the film before it comes out.
Yeah.
But, there are some people who asked, could that weekend be the new Barbenheimer? Could Wicked and Gladiator opening on the same, could that be the new Barbenheimer? And I'm like, and I've said, come on. Listen, I don't know. Maybe it can.
I feel like people need to stop asking that question, because that was a juxtaposition of something like Barbie and something so I don't know, just important as Oppenheimer. Not that film is so important, but it can be. But the subject matter was very important and historical, up against something that was also important, but in its own way, Barbie. You're just not going to get that every year or every 5 years or whatever. So I don't know if we always have to ask that just because two big movies are coming out in the same year.
But it doesn't happen often it doesn't happen often, especially today, that you get two top of the marquee, big blockbuster potential movies come out on the same weekend. That doesn't happen very often. And one of the reasons why I did guffaw when people were trying to make the comparison, saying, is this the new Barbenheimer?
Yeah.
I do get the guffawing, because I guffawed myself. But again, not only is it not very often you get two top of the marquee movies come out in the same weekend, but this also kind of has that same kind of juxtaposition that Barbenheimer did. Because you're going to be hard pressed to find two movies that are as different as Barbie and Oppenheimer.
Right.
You're also going to be, I think, a little hard pressed to find movies that are going to be quite as different as Wicked and Gladiator 2, which apparently is a blood orgy. I one of the things somebody told me is that it is graphic. I'm not expecting that out of Wicked.
Right.
I'm not expecting that out of Wicked, but I'm even though I admit, put down and ridiculed the idea of trying to say this is the next Barbenheimer. Listen, while I don't think both of these are going to get at or close to $1 billion, I gotta say I'm starting to understand the comparison, because I've said for a long time I think Wicked is going to be really good. And maybe now I'm starting to think Gladiator 2 is going to be really good. I don't know, maybe.
We got to see where the box office tracking leads us to Gladiator.
Yeah.
And then we'll have a better idea of deeming this Barbenheimer Part 2.
Here's what I'll say. I will dub thee the new Barbenheimer. Not if they both make $1 billion, because I don't think that's going to, but I honestly do think at the end of the day, with Barbie and Oppenheimer, I think both those movies ended up being bigger than they would have because they opened at the same time.
Yeah, it was like a feedback loop.
I think if we get the sense that both Wicked and Gladiator generates a lot of attention because they're opening on the same weekend, and if we get the sense that maybe they both were more successful than they would have been had they not opened against each other, I'll then give it the holy blessing, rise, Barbenheimer 2. I mean, I don't know. We'll see, but it's becoming an interesting conversation.
Yeah.
Anyway, guys, question is for you. What do you think about this? The responses, I'm telling you guys, it's not just the ones online. I've gotten text messages from people who were at that screening. People I know did not believe in Gladiator 2. Did not believe on it. And they're texting me and saying, holy shit, this thing's really good, Campea. You're going to like it. I'm like, really? Anyway, whatever you guys think, jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. With that down, we're now going to move on to the most important part of our show, which is taking your live comments and questions. If you have a thought, theory, opinion, or question for the show, go ahead and use our tip link and send it in now. But before we do, we're going to take another moment here and thank another sponsor of today's episode of the John Campea Show podcast, our friends at Miracle Made. Guys, we want to take a second to thank a sponsor of today's episode, Miracle Made. Guys, it's hot outside and your nighttime bedroom temperature has a huge impact on your sleep quality. So if you wake up too hot or too cold, I highly recommend you check out Miracle Made's bed sheets. Miracle Made sheets are inspired by NASA and use silver-infused fabrics that are temperature regulating so you can sleep at the perfect temperature all night long. There are just so many things that make these sheets so fantastic. We already mentioned the self-cooling properties for better quality sleep, but they're also self-cleaning. These sheets are infused with silver that prevent up to 99.7% of bacterial growth, leaving them to stay cleaner and fresh 3 times longer than other sheets. No more gross odors. So go to trymiracle.com/Campea. That's TRYMIRACLE.com/Campea to try Miracle Made sheets today. And whether you're buying them for yourself or as a gift for a loved one, if you order today, you can save over 40%. And if you use our promo code Campea at checkout, you'll get 3 free towels and save an extra 20%. Miracle is so confident in their product, it's backed with a 30-day money-back guarantee. So if you aren't 100% satisfied, you'll get a full refund. So upgrade your sleep with Miracle Made. Go to trymiracle.com/Campea and use the code Campea to claim your free 3-piece towel set and save over 40% off. Again, that's trymiracle.com/Campea to treat yourself. Thank you, Miracle Made, for sponsoring this episode. And thank you to our friends at Miracle Made for sponsoring today's episode of the John Campea Show podcast. All right, guys, with that down, let's get on to the main part of our show, which is taking your live comments and questions, shall we? Jonathan, what we got up first?
All right. Anonymous says, this is for Chris, but I got to visit the Bronte Museum, which is the old parsonage the sisters lived in yesterday in Yorkshire. You would love it. Do you have a favorite book? She said Wuthering Heights. I had asked her off the show.
Wuthering.
So
Yeah,
Wuthering
Chris.
Heights.
Chris is here on Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. She's
Yeah.
not here on Mondays. But Wuthering Heights apparently is her favorite
Yep.
book.
There you go.
All right, what's next?
Hot Rod Todd says, wife is dragging me to Orlando. Oh, poor you. Next week for a conference, I need to find something to do by myself while she's at that. Any ideas? No interest in Disney World.
I'll say this. I've only been to Orlando when I went to Star Wars Celebration. And while it is Disneyland adjacent, what's that area called? It's like here at LA, at Disneyland here in Los Angeles.
Like downtown Disney?
It's downtown Disney. And out there, it's called something else. I can't remember what it's called out there. But we went there a couple of nights when a big bunch of it's called Disney Springs. Thank you. Mr.
go.
Forklift and Dat Boy 22 were the first ones to say it. It's called Disney Springs. When we were out in Orlando, we went there a couple of nights to Disney Springs. It's a really cool place to hang out. And there's a Cuban restaurant there. And I'm not particularly like a huge Cuban food guy, but oh my God, this Cuban restaurant at Disney Springs, chef's kiss. It's some great places to eat there, cool place to hang out. I would suggest checking out Disney Springs. All right, what's next?
We got Suthius, who says, one of the aspects of the MCU that I love are more realistic, grounded personal stories. Parents having to emotionally deal with their son not being the same anymore, not knowing that their son of 13 years actually passed in an accident. It's tragic.
Listen, I gotta say, while I think the last episode of Agatha was probably my least favorite of the season so far, I gotta say, I still liked it. And I think you're right. Like that was an angle. I actually think one of my criticisms of the episode was I think they could have leaned more into that. The whole thing about the reality here is that, and the tragedy here is that there are these parents who lost their son and don't even know it. There is something so richly tragic about that and heartbreaking that, and the whole idea about Billy trying to live this other life and not let on to those parents that they actually lost their son. I think that's another thing they could have leaned more into. You know, it was a long episode, and I felt that they really skimped on that part of it. I thought more of the time that episode could have really leaned into that because there's something beautifully tragic about it. And I really do like that they're leaning into those types of themes as well. Again, I don't think Agatha is nearly as good as Penguin, but I'm really quite enjoying this show. And I don't think I've said that about a Marvel TV show since what, Ms. Marvel? I mean, I'm really enjoying it. It's much better than I thought it would be. And it's little themes like that that really help it to me. Anyway, all right, what's next?
Baldur's Grape says, wow, simply wow. Saw Smile 2, and it was one of the most wild rides I've had with a sequel in a long time. Some insane kill scenes with visceral gore, so much tension buildup, and a performance by Naomi that was Oscar nom-worthy. She gave it her all.
I'm going to, look, as somebody who hasn't seen Smile 2 yet, I'm going to go ahead and doubt that the performance she gives is Oscar-worthy. Although, you know, I love Naomi Scott. I think she's great. I'm a fan. I'm a big fan of hers. But I doubt Oscar worthy. But at any rate, you know what? It did real well at the box office. The box office, it was number one at the box office this weekend, and it took in $23 million at the box office. That put it ahead of Wild Robot in its fourth week, still at the number 2 spot, but still, I mean, good for it. I mean, and look, Terrifier, they're at number 3 now. It made an additional, what did it make this weekend? It made an additional $9 million, only took a 50% drop. So like a $23 million opening for Smile 2, following up Terrifier making at number 1 last weekend. So, I mean, that's pretty good for horror fans right now and different types of horror. So good on them. All right, what's next?
Future Man says, hey, John, I was planning to finally go see the Wild Robot in theaters this past weekend, but saw a movie available on Prime. I thought maybe I would save some money and watch it from the comfort of my own home. Am I part of the problem? By the way, well, you're not the problem, but it was there. By the way, fantastic movie.
The thing is, I don't know if you saved any money. Because what is the cost of it on Prime right now? Is it? 30?
I mean, unless he's streaming it for. I don't think it's.
No, it's not
free.
streaming yet. It's VOD.
Right.
On Prime. So I think you gotta I don't know if you rent it for like 20 or 25 bucks. I mean, if you have Regal Unlimited or AMC Prime, you'd actually be saving money by going to the theater to see it. No, listen, I don't blame anybody if hey, right now there's a more convenient way for me to do it, and that's doing this.
Right.
I blame the studio for putting it out on VOD because, again, look, you know what Deadpool and Wolverine proved? You know what Top Gun Maverick proved? That if your movie's good and you give it a long theatrical window and then you have a wait period between the end of the theatrical window and when you put out on video, your movie can be more successful on VOD than if you just rushed it out and put it out on VOD. I mean, again, like there are people today would tell you that what Top Gun Maverick did was crazy and stupid. It made so much money. Or that Deadpool, why Deadpool wait so long to put it? Well, it seems to be working for them anyway. But no, I mean, If you are ever a viewer and there's a more convenient way for you to watch right now, again, I blame the studio for doing it that way. I think look, I've said this before, I will say it again. This industry is committing suicide. This industry is killing itself. They see, oh, you know what? If we put out Wild Robot on VOD right now, we don't have to spend as much money on a marketing campaign for its VOD release later because we can just, use the momentum of the current marketing campaign for its theatrical release. The old English saying is, what is it? It's not an English saying. Penny wise, dollar foolish. Hey, we get a little bit of a short-term gain here, but they don't see that long-term. They're killing them. They're killing their own industry. The movie industry is going to be dead soon. I mean, look, I say this as a movie guy. I say this as the #1 fan of movies. The movie industry is killing itself. It's going to be dead in, I'm not saying a few years as in 2 or 3 years, but the movie industry is killing itself. It's just committing suicide. But I don't blame the viewer if a more convenient, simple option is there. Like Corvette. If they decide to sell the Corvette for $100, they're going to sell a lot of Corvettes this month, but they're going to kill their company. But I wouldn't blame a consumer going, Corvette for $100? Sure. Yeah, that's not the consumer's fault. That's the company's fault. Anyway, all right, what's next?
Raymond Verada says, it has just been announced that Tatiana Maslany has joined the cast of Star Trek Starfleet Academy.
Oh, I didn't hear that.
The show's already been picked up for season 2. It already has Holly Hunter, Paul Giamatti, and a couple of legacy actors in Robert Picardo and Mary Wiseman.
Yeah, Robert Picardo was the hologram doctor. Anyway, that's terrific. I mean, first of all, just when they announced Paul Giamatti, I was like, what? Then they announced Holly Hunter. What? Tatiana Maslany. I love Tatiana Maslany. She's the only reason I hope they do a She-Hulk season 2. Only much better than season 1, hopefully. But with all the problems of She-Hulk season 1, Tatiana Maslany was not one of them. I love her. I think she's great. That's exciting to hear. I'm actually starting to get a little bit pumped for this show. All right, what's next?
CR says, hey guys, while watching yesterday's Penguin episode, my wife mentioned that Julian Rush is basically Sophia's Harley Quinn, and now I can't unsee it.
I don't know who Julian... Oh, is that the doctor?
Probably. He seems a little thirsty.
Yes. Okay, so I think of him as Juice. He's Juice. He was from Sons of Anarchy. He was also, by the way, he's in the MCU. Remember? Because he was in Luke Cage as well. Anyway, yeah, kind of a little bit of a semi-quasi reverse Harley Quinn. You know what? I haven't thought of that type of comparison, but now that you mention it, it's not a bad comparison, actually. I think your wife might be onto something there. All right, what's next?
Eddie Burton says, Clint Eastwood's possible last film, Juror Number 2, is being released in theaters in less than 2 weeks, and no one's talking about it. With the studio hardly doing any marketing either, is this a bad sign for the quality of the film? Are we in for another cry macho?
I mean, look, one of the things that really jumped out to me, because that trailer is great. If you haven't seen the trailer for Juror Number 2, see it. It's really good. We talked about it on the show the other week. But you're right, man. I have seen nothing in marketing for this film. At all. You know, it reminds me of Saturday Night.
It's a crime
I've seen no marketing for Saturday Night.
And it's only made $7 million. Guys, go see that movie.
But that's what this reminds me of too. Like I'm the guy who's always saying, don't release trailers too early. But they literally put out the first trailer for this one like a month before it was coming out. I mean, that is a little tight. And other than that, I've seen like no marketing. I think the movie looks insanely good. I can't wait to watch it, but yeah, here's hoping it's not. And what was the one that he did about the one on the train? Something about something Paris, or that was one of his most recent ones. I think there was Cry Macho, and then what was the other one, guys, in the live chat? The one about on the train, the 5:10 to Paris, or something like that. I don't know. 5:17 to Paris. Michael Burgett is saying in the live chat.
I thought Cry Macho was the last one, so there you go.
Yeah, I mean, hopefully it doesn't turn out like that, because and I hope this one, because listen, Clint Eastwood is one of our great directors. He hasn't done anything that's really moved the needle a lot in a while, but hopefully Neither had Ridley Scott, and it looks like Gladiator 2 is going to be the next big thing that moves the needle. Hopefully this will be that for Clint Eastwood as well. All right, what's next?
Okay, we got Eddie Burton's. Oh, sorry, just read that one. JT says, "Man, what has Patty Jenkins been up to? I've seen her film Monster many times and really enjoyed the Wonder Woman films. Not so much the second one. Are we still hoping for Rogue Squadron?"
Well, then she was supposed to be working on that Cleopatra project, but I don't know if that's still happening or not. I haven't heard anything about it in forever. Listen. Say what you want about the second Wonder Woman film. It wasn't good, right? But what she did with that first Wonder Woman was fantastic. And she got Charlize Theron an Academy Award for Monster. She's a really good storyteller. She's a really good director. I really want that Rogue Squadron movie. I want it very badly. I loved it when they made the announcement, but everything is so dysfunctional over at Lucasfilm right now. Who knows? But so I don't know. The last I heard, it was supposed to be the Cleopatra thing. But
she's producing that. I don't see her as a director on it, though.
Yeah, I don't think they ever did name a director on it. Yeah. I could be wrong, but I don't know if that's even still happening. Because I think maybe the financiers got nervous that Gal Gadot can actually carry a movie.
Mm-hmm.
She can't. Well, let me spoil it for you. She can't. Gal Gadot cannot carry a movie. So I don't know if they got nervous about that or if it is still indeed plowing ahead and happening. I just don't know right now. But I'd like to find out. All right, what's next?
We got Dr. Stinky. Hope y'all are doing good. I've kind of came up with my rom-com Mount Rushmore. 1, The Proposal. 2, Crazy Rich Asians. 3, Set It Up. If anyone hasn't seen any of these 3, watch them. They're adorable, fun little films, especially Zoe Deutsch in Set Up.
Well, but first of all,
if you need 4.
If you're going to say something is a Mount Rushmore, you got to have 4. First of all, The Proposal. I don't think any of those are in my top 4. But The Proposal, it's awesome. And you know what? Ages great. Ann and I watched that again about 6 months ago, and it has not lost an ounce of its comedic potency. That movie is still freaking hilarious. Like, still hilarious. I was about to say some Angry Doc in the live chat just mentioned Forgetting Sarah Marshall, which, by the way, I finally got caught up on the new episodes of Shrinking. Oh my God, it's funny. Guys, if you're not watching Shrinking, watch Shrinking. It's so freaking good.
What was the OG one with Woody Allen? And it was in the 70s. Because
Annie Hall?
Annie Hall. I feel like that's the OG, like, of the modern rom-com.
You know, I only watched Annie Hall for the first time about 15 years ago. Jeez, man, I couldn't believe, and I thought, I don't know if I'm going to find it funny because this movie was made in a different era. Annie Hall is the shit, man. Yeah. Annie Hall is so good.
I would personally put Annie Hall, When Harry Met Sally, probably, and probably get some hate for this, but Love Actually. Boy, then I'd have to really think about the third one. I mean, 4 Weddings and a Funeral doesn't count, right? That's not really a rom-com.
Not really. I mean, what's the one that happens at Christmas time? What's that? No, that's Love Actually.
That's Love Actually.
Yeah. I mean, I personally count 40-Year-Old Virgin as a rom-com. I mean, I know there are other people who don't, but I would count that one as a rom-com myself. Forgetting Sarah Marshall, I think I would have to put that on my list.
You know what? We got someone who says Tootsie, and honestly, it's an inverted rom-com.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know that I would include Tootsie in that. Look, there's definitely a romance in Tootsie.
It's a little more than a rom-com, though.
Yeah, I don't know that I would qualify it as a rom-com, but I don't know. It's not a bad one.
Pretty Woman could be on there.
All right, what's next?
Anonymous says, Disney released season 1 of their Goosebumps show on October 13th, in 23. In the lead up to Halloween, they were in the top 10 most streamed shows for the rest of the month. With Halloween just a week and a half away, Disney is releasing season 2 in January. Oh, in January. Interesting.
Huh. I mean, look, again, I have no idea. Like, there may have been problems that they weren't going to be able to get it ready in time. Again, the writer's strike screwed a lot of things up.
It really did push things. So
I mean, we are still living in the repercussions. Like, everybody's so short attentioned, and I get it. That's what we are. But like, oh wait, the writer's strike was so long ago. Yeah, but that's the life cycle of these projects. I mean, it could have suffered a lot because of that. And maybe Disney was just like, okay, we're never going to have it ready in time for Halloween season. Do we really want to wait another 8 months to put it out just so it can come out? So it might have been one of those situations. We just don't know.
Yeah.
All right, what's next?
Luke Stockton says, I somehow came across the time you were on the movie Trivia Schmodown. It was awesome to see your WWE-like persona show through. It was very entertaining to watch. Fun fact, I was the editor on that episode.
Yeah, I am technically undefeated, by the way.
It's true.
Because, Rob and I were undefeated as a team. And then in the Star Wars one, we actually beat Sam Witwer and Freddie Prinze. It's just that they added the score wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Remember that?
Yeah.
Like, the person at the scoring table forgot to give a point on something. Like, we got the point. They acknowledge, yeah, we got the point. They just didn't put it up on the scoreboard. So we got to the end. It's like, oh, it's tied. We got to do a sudden death.
Yeah.
And it's like, no.
We didn't have to.
We won.
I think in the edit bay, I'm like, hey, you guys missed a point. They're actually ahead.
Yeah. And some people would say, well, in any sport, the refs may miss a call. This wasn't a missed call. The person just operating the scoreboard forgot to put up the point.
That's like if someone got a home run and they're like, oh, forgot to put it on the board. Oops.
And by the way, I just want to throw out there, I've beaten Sam Witwer twice in Star Wars trivia.
Because you did it at a celebration. Or
I did it at Star Wars Celebration.
Yeah.
I beat him at Star Wars Celebration. I only bring that up because it was Sam Witwer's birthday. Either today or yesterday.
Oh, okay.
And by the way, can I just say this? Sam Witwer is seriously one of the coolest guys.
Yeah, he's really nice.
He is seriously one of the coolest guys. And even though I beat him at Star Wars trivia, if we competed 100 times, I'm pretty sure he's winning 80 of them.
Yeah, he's really good at Star Wars trivia.
Because you see some celebrities who... Oh, you say, oh, this guy really knows his Dungeons and Dragons, or this guy really knows. No. Sam Witwer really knows his Star Wars. Like, it's not just, a celebrity who... No. Sam Witwer is a boss. Like an absolute boss. And... like, I'll always throw out there, because I beat Sam Witwer twice. I only crow about that because I know if I did like 100 thing against him, he wins 80 minimum. He wins like 80, 85 out of 100 against me. Like, he's a freaking boss. He's so cool.
Technically, me and Perry beat the Jeopardy all-time champion, right?
That's right. Yeah.
And Sam Levine. So...
Sam Levine was also very, very good.
But there again, we lucked out. It was insane.
Yeah. Listen, I acknowledge I kind of fell off movie Trivia Schmodown a little bit when they leaned a little too much into the wrestling stuff. Like, it became more of a wrestling show that had movie trivia instead of being a movie trivia show that would have a little bit of UFC and wrestling flair. But I mean, you're talking about guys like John Roca was great at it.
Yeah, the Outlaw.
Dan Murrell might have been the GOAT. Dan Murrell might have been the best that ever did
it. When he took that stage, you're like, this could be a total blowout.
Yeah. Or an all-time classic. Either way. So John Roca was fabulous. Dan Murrell was fabulous. There was just some, but Sam Witwer, man, when it came to Star Wars stuff, he was the baddest man in town. Like, when he would walk in, he would be the baddest man in town. All right. Anyway.
All right.
What's next?
Dr. Stinky, thank you for the membership gift.
Thank you, Dr. Stinky. Appreciate that, man.
And then we got Luke Stockton. The number of times I yelled at, oh, snap, while watching this new Penguin episode was way too many. Such a great episode showing the dark side of Penguin we have yet to see. We've seen it, just glimmers. And the full set of reigns Sophia has on her empire now is awesome.
I'm telling you, man, the way... This show is so masterfully mapped out. Because it's not just that every episode was great. Here's the wonderful thing about it. And Disney Plus, take some notes on this. Every single episode is a true chapter of the story. One of the big problems with Disney Plus series has been, particularly something like Obi-Wan, right? It feels like it was made by somebody who's used to making a movie and then just randomly chopped up. Like, episodes don't feel like they have their own beginning, middle, end. Agatha does, because now they have a true showrunner and everything. But like, they've mapped out episodically this series so brilliantly. Like, every episode is a true chapter of the story that truly progresses the narrative. And every time leaves you on an, oh my God, what happens now kind of moment. Like, it's so brilliantly done. I can't get over how great this show is. All right, what's next?
Pacific McRib says, happy Monday, Campea crew. Watch the newest episode of Penguin on my commute, and holy bleeping hell, so much is happening. Have a great day, everyone. P.S. John, Rempe is greater than Reeves. Big Rangers, so nice to see 2 original 6 teams go at it.
It has been I'll save this for Filthy Sports, but it has really been a great start to the NHL season. My Leafs are doing quite well, but they always choke when it comes to the playoff time. Actually, yeah, we're gonna go see some Kings games. I am this year gonna go to a Las Vegas Gold. I'm wearing a Las Vegas Golden Knights sweater, as a matter of fact. I'm gonna try to get out to one of their games in Vegas this year. A lot of cool stuff happening around that. But and again, yes, the Penguin episode off the chart. All right, what's next?
Anonymous says, did Carmine want Sophia to see her mom's body? He's a control freak. He might have thought this could help control Sophia, but the story's getting too big for Batman not to be here. All the Falcones dead. Maroni escaped. His family dead. What is Batman doing? Why would Batman get involved?
Why would Batman be there?
Unless
That's
it's
ridiculous.
affecting the citizens of Gotham. Who cares? Kill bad guys, killing bad guys.
Again, let me just say this again. The Batman is in his 2nd or 3rd year of being Batman. The city, they set this up in Penguin in the early episodes through the news reports and everything. The city just went through a cataclysmic event. The movie itself ends with Batman realizing he's not the one there to bring vengeance now. He's there to bring hope to people. And he's trying to save people and help people. If a bunch of rich mobster gangsters want to knock themselves off, you go. I've got a million other people who need my help right now.
They touched on that when they went to that messed up neighborhood. You got looters and stuff, so they're still terrorizing the innocent people.
Yeah, like there's a million other things, like literally millions of other things that this Batman right now would consider needs his attention more. Rich douchebag mobsters want to knock themselves off? I got bigger problems. Like, I got actual innocent people who are suffering and hurting, and like crime. They said, remember the news report, like the crime has gone off the scale, stuff like that. That's where Batman is. Batman would be an asshole if Batman would be an asshole if he took his attention away from actually helping innocent people who need it, rather than a bunch of rich mobster douchebags knocking each other off. That's not going to get his attention right now, and it shouldn't. Now, when they get to the end of the series, and maybe Penguin solidifies power, maybe, I don't know what's going to happen.
And those special drops are coming out.
And now things he starts doing things like distributing a new drug that is going to hurt the people of Gotham. Well, that, at that point, might start getting his attention. But as for now, why would he be spending his time with rich mobster dirtbags when there's actually millions of innocent people who really need his help right now? I don't understand the argument that this should even be on Batman's radar right now, but that's just me. All right, what's next?
Okay, Anonymous says, I'm still recommending YouTube food chef Kanan Batalov for you to check out. John, and also have you and Ann seen The Wild Robot yet? Sequel coming? P.S. Hollywood Reporter live action Rugrats film with Pitch Perfect director. I did not make this up.
Yeah, I heard that. I have to admit, I don't know that it would be physically or emotionally possible for me to be less interested in a movie. I'm talking about Rugrats. Now, that is not me saying other people shouldn't be interested in it. Like, hell, if you grew up with it and it's got fond memories for you and you think it could be really good, awesome. I'm not trying to trash on it. I'm just saying, for me personally, I got to say, I don't know that it would be possible for me to be less interested in it. But if you are, that's great. All right, what's next?
Let's see. Joe Wakefield says Hellboy the Crooked Man has a 61% audience score on Rotten Tomatoes. Even his 41 critic score is better than the last installment. What do you think of the film? I got exactly what I expected in a good way. Still wish it got a theatrical release.
I heard pretty decent things about it. Again, it's a very low budget film. And listen, full disclosure, so anybody, I just want to take out any bias or anything like that. A friend of mine made that movie. A guy I like very much made that movie. So I'm clearly going to have some bias in it. So take whatever I say, but grain of salt. I have waited to watch it. I haven't seen it yet. I am going to sit down and watch it again. Friend of mine, it's like there's no point in me giving an official review of it because a friend of mine made it. You can't take what I say about it at face value. You got to understand, even if I try to be as honest and as objective as possible, I might think I'm being as honest as possible, but somewhere in my head, I don't know, who knows. But so yeah, a buddy of mine made it. Gotta be careful. But I am very much looking forward to seeing it. And I heard from some people that thought that actually really quite liked it. So we'll see.
All right.
All right. What's next?
Mega Red says, do you think RDJ's Doctor Doom will be CGI mocap or practical or a bit of both? RDJ wore pieces for a real Iron Man, but eventually they went all mocap. I think there's arguments for both, but personally, I would love at least a real cape and hood.
It all depends on what they envisioned, right? Like, there are times when, let's look at Baby Yoda for a second. There are times when using a practical physical puppet was absolutely the right thing to do. And then there were times it was like, that really should have been CG'd because that looked really weird.
Anytime he's running.
Oh, yeah.
I'm like, what? He's about to tip. The puppet's going to tip over. No one runs like at a 45-degree angle.
Yeah, definitely times that he should have done. And I think it all depends on what they're trying to do with the... Look, if they can come up with a great practical outfit that matches what they're envisioning Doom looking like, then by all means, do it with a practical physical suit. But if you even look at the comic of Doctor Doom, it's like, oh yeah, you can't make something that looks like that and will move and breathe and all that kind of stuff without it being CGI. I mean, it's hard for me to say. I don't think there is an answer to, should they do this practical or do the CGI until we see it or until we know what they're envisioning. I mean, there's still people out there that say Ben Grimm should be a practical physical suit. No, he shouldn't. Don't get me wrong. I really like Michael Chiklis's thing in those fantastic. I like Michael Chiklis, and I thought that worked fine.
Yeah.
But that's not really the thing. And if you're going to do the thing, you should probably be CGI for it to work properly. So, I mean, it all depends on what they have in mind. When Robert Downey Jr. is just standing talking to somebody, it was fine to put him in a practical suit. But if you're going to have Iron Man actually moving and doing things, that kind of needs to be CGI. So it all depends on what it is they're trying to do. I'm sure they'll make the right decision, whatever it is. All right, what's next?
Anonymous says, I want to get tickets for a larger group for Gladiator 2 here in Germany. The only thing that our Cineplex Cinema has put out yet are two previews, 13th November and then the opening night, 16th November. What is the difference between preview and opening night?
Well, I mean, it can mean different things. Generally speaking, opening night is when it opens. That's when it opens.
Right.
Right? It's available nationwide. You can go see it, blah, blah, blah. That's the official thing. But sometimes they'll do special fan event. They'll call it different things. A fan event, a special advance preview where it's not, full 6 showings a day on every screen across the entire country, blah, blah, blah. It'd be like one showing on this date in advance, sort of thing. Right. So that's kind of the difference. I mean, it's still the same movie. You're going to see the same movie, whether you go to opening night or fan advance screening or preview night, or it's the same movie. So it's the same viewing experience. It's just a matter of semantics, really.
Yeah.
All right, what's next?
Mr. I says, as for Deadpool and Wolverine, either pay $25 for digital rental, I know it's $30 to buy, or pay roughly $10, get some delicious popcorn slattered in butter. See it on the big screen, by the way. The 4K Blu-ray comes out tomorrow. I pre-ordered.
Yeah, to me, that's not even a question.
Yeah.
Like, look, I'm looking forward to watching Deadpool and Wolverine at home, but it won't be as good as watching it in the theater. It's never as good. Right? To go to the movie theater with other people laughing and having like sitting in this truly big screen. And I mean, bring up your shot for a second, Jonathan. See that behind Jonathan? That is my home theater screen. It is too big to even fit in the shot. I have a pretty big and impressive home theater set up, but it's garbage. It's junk compared to a real theatrical experience. It's always better.
Trash.
You are trash. So yeah, I mean, it's always better to do that, but yeah, man, $25 to rent it.
That's why with the with the comment earlier about Wild Robot, that movie you should see that on the big screen. It's deserving of it.
And then it all depends, right? Like I have AMC A-list,
right?
So in a way, I'm going to the theater to see it for free. Right. So it all depends on your situation. All right, what's next?
Dr. Stinky, Taron Egerton, too short for Bond. He's a solid height around 5'9", 10, the exact height of Daniel Craig, and 3 to 4 inches taller than Holland, who lies about his height. 1 to 2 inches taller than Cillian Murphy too. Short. Sorry, random, but FYI, I guess. Yeah, he telegraphs as short as stubby.
Well, it doesn't help when he's like in movies with Hugh Jackman. By the way, if you haven't seen Eddie the Eagle with Taron Egerton and Hugh Jackman, wonderful little film. You should totally see it. But yeah, he looks like a short guy next to Hugh Jackman. You're right. He is 5'9", but he plays shorter. And so Daniel Craig, I think, is 5'11". Because I've stood next to Daniel Craig and he's very close to my height. So he's almost as tall as me. So I got to figure he's about 5'11", 5'10", 5'11". But, it just on screen this is not that's what she said incident, but every inch matters. When you're on screen, height wise, every inch matters. And yeah, I guess Taron just comes across as he plays on screen much shorter. That 1 or 2 inches can kind of feel like a world of difference. But I don't know. Maybe it wouldn't be that big of a deal.
I mean,
maybe you're right.
He also, Colin Firth is really tall. And he did
and standing next to Colin Firth. Yeah, that'll do it.
He's taller than me, Colin. So yeah.
How big is Colin Firth?
I'll have to look that up, but he's got to be like 6'4", man. He's pretty tall.
Let me look it up. Colin Firth height. Yeah, he's 6'2".
6'2". Okay, I had him at like 6'4", but all right.
And I've seen some places say that Hugh Jackman is like 6'2" as well. I think Hugh Jackman's even a little bit taller than that.
Could be.
Anyway. All right, what's next?
Okay, on to our members. We got...
and by the way, good to have thank you to all you guys who are channel members. So we try every day to have a little bit of time to get around some channel member questions. So let's do that right now.
Yanni Moore says, hey, John and crew, just finished watching the 3 How to Train Your Dragon films again.
Wonderful films.
With my son, and wow, I now think it's one of the best trilogies in animation ever made. Better than Shrek and second to Toy Story franchise. Highly recommend it.
I completely agree with everything you said.
And didn't make as much as people think they made.
No, they were never massive blockbuster successes, but every single one of the movies are wonderful. And I think I'm with you. I think it's the second best animated trilogy. Now, like the thing about Shrek is like Shrek 2, I think is still the best Shrek movie. And I don't know if any one of the individual How to Train Your Dragon films are like one of the best animated movies ever, but they're just the overall consistency of the quality of that trilogy. All 3 of them are wonderful. And so I'm going to say I'm with you. I think it's now, of course, ask me again after the 3rd Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse movie comes out, then that'll change. But as of right now, I think I agree. I think it's the second best animated trilogy ever. All right, what's next?
Okay, we got King Daddy Goat says, watched Smile 2 last night. Got to say the musical numbers they had went along with the story, unlike some films. Cough, cough, Joker 2. Anyway, highly recommend this film. Much better than the first one. Thanks for bringing on the film.
And the movie's not a musical. It's just that she's a pop star and all that kind of stuff. But yes, that is a big problem with me with Joker 2. Absolutely. All right, what's next?
Joel Checky says, saw Wild Robot, very good. Really liked it a lot. Gorgeous animation. Not the GOAT for me, but it will likely be in the running for Best Animated Feature with Inside Out 2.
The really cool thing is that even though it has not made a crap ton of money, I think it hasn't even made 200 yet. Yeah, it's sitting at 190. It hasn't even made 200 million. But the studio had the foresight to go, you know what? People are loving it. And maybe we didn't do a good job of getting them all out to this first one, but now that the word is out there that this movie's wonderful, we're going to greenlight a sequel, and we're going to believe that the second one will make more money. That's what I hope what happens to Transformers 1, because Transformers 1, I don't even think has made 120 million. That to me is a standout. Let me see if I can pull this up. Transformers 1, any minute now, has made $119 million. Woo-woo. Guys, what are we doing? I get it. Transformers, their reputation went to crap. But I mean, seriously, what are we doing? They made a wonderful little movie. And ain't nobody went to go see it.
Go see Saturday Night and Transformers 1. Double feature.
Transformers 1 is so... For a Transformers movie, it's so good. It really is... Really bums me out that it has flopped so badly. Anyway. All right, what's next?
Vicog says, wow, do my feet hurt after 4 straight days of walking through New York Comic-Con? Have you ever been, and what's your opinion on the current state of cons as a whole? Prices have been going up like crazy.
I've never been to New York Comic-Con. Mm-hmm. I'm personally not a fan of New York City. I try to avoid it. I've told the story that I actually turned down a national TV series because it would have required me to fly to New York twice a month. And I said, no. So no, I've never been to New York Comic-Con. I've heard very good things about it though. I've thought about going several years. I thought very hard about going, but very expensive. Like, it's not just the price of the ticket. The price of the ticket's the price of the ticket. That's fine. It's flying from Los Angeles to New York, transportation in New York, getting hotels in New York. That all was very, it created roadblocks for me going, but it sounds good. Listen, I still love, Ann and I went to San Diego Comic-Con. I still love the cons. Everybody's in such a great mood. Everybody's so happy. I think really good cons like that are good for the soul. And honestly, when you think about it, when you think about everything that happens at a con, what, you spend $100 or $200 for like a 4-day pass? Like, that's still a great value. When you consider, like, the LA Lakers are about to have their home game opener. There are people going to be spending $700 just to go to that for 2.5 hours.
Crazy.
Or you can get a 4-day pass to a comic book convention for like $200. And actually, most of the tickets are cheaper than that. But I'm saying at most, I actually don't think the prices. The thing that kills you is having to travel there, and the hotels and all that is outside of the cons.
Right.
The con has nothing to do with that. The con can't do anything about that, but that's the real expense of going to these things. All right, what's next?
Jen Shazam says, have you gotten a chance to see the season 3 of Legend of Vox Machina on Prime? Final 3 episodes come out this week. I'm really enjoying the season so far.
I am 6 episodes in.
Oh.
I think that a new batch. Wait a minute, is it 9 episodes or is it 12? I can't remember. Anyway, either way, I've seen the first 6. Really enjoying it. It's not my favorite season of it so far, but that's how much I like this show. Like, I still think this is a really good season. I'm having a lot of fun with it. And it was, again, I don't know if it's 9 episodes or 12. If it's 9 episodes, then I'm caught up and I'm just waiting for the final 3 to come out. If it's 12, then I'm 3 episodes behind. But yes, really liking the show so far.
There you go.
All right, let's take one more question, then we'll call it a day.
All right. Zach says, I don't know how I feel about Creature Commandos. I have faith in Gunn, but I will say it feels a bit derivative. That said, I'm curious how it will tie into the new DCU. What are your thoughts on the trailer? Thanks, and bring on the filthy.
Derivative of what? I'm not really quite sure. But look, most anything in the comic book genre is a bit derivative. I mean, it's everything is to a degree and to a point, but I'm not really.
Yeah, it's not like Superman and then Supergirl.
Yeah. I mean, like you could say, well, Suicide Squad. Well, this is in that these are like connected characters. So of course it should feel like Suicide Squad a bit because it's like literally directly connected to Suicide, at least James Gunn's Suicide Squad. Right? So it should feel the same. If it didn't, there's something wrong because it's that same world. Like literally it's Flag's dad. It is Weasel. It is, what's her name again? The one who runs everything behind the scenes. Why am I forgetting the character's name?
Oh, shoot. Yeah.
I'm freezing on it now. Is it Waller?
Yeah, Waller.
Amanda Waller. That's
Waller,
who it is.
yeah.
Yes. Oh, and people in the live chat, Dr. Stinky, Mark Newman. Yeah, Amanda Waller. I mean, so it should kind of feel like that at any rate. At any rate. I'll have to wait to see. Look, James Gunn said this weekend that he thinks this is the most emotionally, like, high quality thing he's ever written from an emotional point of view. And that's exciting to me. The trailer's the trailer. I mean, look, we're past now the idea of superhero stuff being animated superhero stuff being super gory and violent. We've had that lately. Whether it's The Boys, whether it's Invincible, whether it's, I mean, we've had a lot of that stuff that's like that. Suicide Squad, James Gunn's Suicide Squad in and of itself. So, but again, he says he loves it. So we'll see how it turns out. And all right, guys, that'll do it for today's installment of the John Campea Show podcast. Thank you so much for being here and making our little show part of your day. Big special thank you to all you guys who sent in questions. Number one, because he gives great fun things to talk about. But number two, he supported this channel as you did it. And all of us involved with the show, thank you guys so very much for your support. Want to remind you guys that if any of you do happen to be sports fans, we have Filthy Sports a little bit later today at 4 p.m. Just go on YouTube, search for Filthy Sports for our other separate channel. Subscribe to it. We're going to have me, Ray, Jonathan, Ryan. We're all going to be doing the show. We're going to talk about how Aaron Rodgers is straight up out of excuses and a whole bunch of the Dodgers going to the World Series. Who knew? The Detroit Lions are probably the best team in the NFL. Anyway, a lot of sports stuff. If you're a sports fan, come on by and join us for that later today. So, for Jonathan Voico,
See you guys later.
my name's John Campea, and until next time, my friends, bye-bye.